Hi and welcome back to another Motion Mile After Effects tutorial. It's Mackenzie, Chriswell here, and we've got another great one today. Roll it! Okay, so first thing we want to do is create a new composition, as you might have guessed. So we'll come into Composition, New Comp, Command N if you're a shortcut man or woman. Name it Stickman. We'll give ourselves a little bit of time to work with, about 10 seconds. And I am sticking with a frame rate of somewhere around 24 to 25. You can go around 30, depending on like what format you're working for, what country you're in. I would avoid higher frame rates, 59, 60. It's not going to work well for here. This kind of hinges on some motion blur a little bit. So stick with a lower frame rate, if you can do so, and go ahead and create your new comp. And then we'll go ahead, we'll do a new solid in the background. And there's actually two variations that I created of this, kind of like a darker model and a lighter version. Both don't use a solid white or solid black background. They use like a dark gray or a light gray. So in either scenario, you will need a new solid to act as a background. And also it's just like good practice to design with a background unless you're exporting something that needs transparency. And we'll create the light version here. So we're going for kind of a light gray, nearly white, not quite white. Make sure we're comp size, hit OK. And now we have something to work with. So the first thing we'll do is create this cool title you see here, which again is pretty easy actually. So we'll come to about the 6-second point here in our composition, and then we'll click the text tool and just type some new text. So we'll type motion and mile, just for continuity purposes. And then since this title is only going to be for the last little bit of the composition, so we can go ahead and here on this title, this text layer, make sure we're at around 6 seconds. And if we hit the keyboard shortcut Command/Control-Shift-D, depending on whether you're on PC or Mac, we can cut the title. And then I did create the title. You just can't see it because of my text color is white. So let's give it, again, not quite a black, but a dark gray. And I do have the align window up. If you don't have this, go over to Window and Align. So that'll actually come in handy in a second. So let's find a font that we like. I'll do something like, do we have like a Babus New? I like that font. And we'll make it bold. I want it to be quite thick. And then we'll make it bigger. Okay. And this isn't actually the same font that was used in the original, but that's completely fine. We'll actually make this text a little lighter. It seems like a bit of a dark color to me. And then we will come down to this align menu and just align this text in the center. We'll grab a layer, new solid. Oop, not light. A layer, new solid. And let's see. We'll get this color. Okay. We'll go ahead and turn it off first. And if we grab just like this rectangular mask tool, we can create kind of a line. And then what we'll do is we'll draw, again with a rectangular mask, around this ampersand, and change the mask type to subtract. And what we can do now is just get those two lines that kind of accent the title. Ours are a little longer here, but completely fine. And then we will cut this layer at the same 6-second point as the title. And we'll select both of these layers, choose Layer, pre-compose. We're going to be doing a lot of pre-composing in this tutorial just to keep things super organized and flowing well. So we'll call this title pre-compose 1. Cut it again at the 6-second mark. That shortcut is again Command-Shift-D or Control-Shift-D. We'll make a copy of this. We'll grab the lower layer, and we'll grab like a fill effect. Drop it on there, and if we select the title, and with the arrow keys, we can kind of move this lower title composition down like 2 spots, over 2 spots, maybe over just 1 spot, maybe 2. Yeah, that looks good. What we can then do is change this red color that is the default with the fill effect to kind of a lighter gray than the original title. And what we'll get is somewhere in between like a shadow and kind of 3D-ish text. So, you know, a happy medium. Looks nice. And we'll actually do a final pre-compose here. Select both of these titles. Choose layer, pre-compose, title to, or title pre-compose to. Save that. Cut it again at the 6-second mark. And good to go. We've got one part of the title done. Okay, so now we can actually kind of do the fun part and start drawing. And we're going to use something that not very many people do use in After Effects. And I have to admit, even I don't use often. And that is just a straight up shape layer. And basically the way that you can create a shape layer is you just grab a mask tool, in this case the ellipse tool, as I just did. And you just start drawing a mask. So we'll draw a circle. And we get cool options to resize it. If you hold down Shift, you can keep it uniform. And if we come up to the shape settings, what we can do is fill this with like a black, not quite a black, that kind of off gray again. And turn down the stroke size to 0. So we have kind of the head of our person. And let's see, what do we want to do first? We'll do the man standing at his computer. So we'll continue to make sure we have this shape selected, and we'll grab this rounded rectangle tool. One tip, if you just hit Q on the keyboard, you can cycle through all the different masks shapes. And so when we're drawing with so many different types of masks, as in with this particular scenario, that's going to really come in handy for us. Now let's draw kind of a body on our guy. Okay. And let's see, we'll draw maybe a few legs. And let's see, we can grab this mask. And, well, first I want to actually make it a little smaller. But then we can rotate it to become a leg, essentially. And then we can make a copy of this mask, copy it back on, or paste it back on, and move it over, rotate it in the other direction, place it so. All right, now we have a pair of legs. And let's see, what else can we do? We'll probably want to go ahead and create the desk that this person is standing at. So that's actually, again, fairly easy. We'll grab the same rounded rectangular tool. This is a really nice one because kind of the regular rectangle tool can be a little rough around the edges for this type of thing. So we're going to stick with the rounded rectangular tool. And we'll draw kind of a desk shape. Very nice. Now I do realize that this is essentially pretty boring to watch people sit here and draw. So what I'm going to be doing is while I'm drawing these characters, I don't want to just not show what I'm doing, but what I'm going to do is kind of fast forward through it and play that awesome motion mel music as I draw these characters and essentially kind of show what I'm doing, but try to not bore people down so much. Try to maintain just a couple of viewers here. Okay, so once we have this drawn, we'll come to the shape layer, and if we hit enter on the keyboard, we can just rename this something like person 1. And then come to this align menu again, align them up in the center, and wow, that's actually, yeah, okay, nice, nice stuff. So we'll come to about the 2-second mark and cut this, Command-Shift-D, and we'll cut it again. And conveniently, we'll actually cut it one more time here. And conveniently, what we'll have now is a spot for all of those figures that showed up in the original. Our guy building here and our guy at the desk. So we can go ahead and build those guys. Okay, so now that we have all of this set up, what we essentially want to do is create a couple of transitions to basically get this thing moving. And beyond that, we're done. We'll go ahead and make all of these compositions 3D, except for the last one. And what we also want to do is come to each of these shape layers and recenter the focal point. So we'll come here, grab this pan behind tool, and recenter the focal point in the middle of the layer. Same thing over here. And also here. And we can just check on that text layer and make sure, yeah, okay. Okay, so once we've done that, basically what we'll do is we'll come to the first of our shape layers. And we'll come to about 15 or 12 frames into the composition, and we'll hit R, Shift, hold down Shift, hit T, and we can bring up the rotation and the opacity settings. And at this point, 12 frames in, we'll keyframe the Y rotation and keyframe the opacity. Come to the beginning of the comp, frame 0, set the Y rotation to like 180. And the opacity to 0, and we'll have our dude animating in. Very nice. We'll go ahead and turn on motion blur for all these layers actually, and motion blur for the composition. So we'll get some nice motion blur as this is moving. Very cool. Come in between this first layer and our second. On the second layer, we'll again hit R, Shift T, bring up those same settings. We'll again keyframe the Y, rotation and the opacity, come a little bit into the next layer, rotate again, we'll do -180 this time, and again we'll go to 0, same type of situation here, Y rotation, opacity, come in here, right before we start to move, basically where these keyframes are. Let's see, set the Y rotation to 180, opacity to 0, get a nice transition there. We'll come back, we'll come to person 3, person 4 layers, Shift R, R, Shift T, again, same setup, keyframing all of this, coming in here, -180 and 0, keyframe on this, and 180 and 0, and for a final transition, we'll just transition into the title here. So we'll collapse all of these, move this third person down here by this title, and let's see. We'll R, Shift T, and R, Shift T again. And if we hit the tilde key, that'll be right above the tab. We can actually get a little more room in here to look around. So we will keyframe the Y rotation and the opacity again on this layer. Come in here, rotate it negative 180. Set the opacity to 0 again, and same situation for our title. For our title layer, keyframe the Y rotation and the opacity. Come here and so that's 180 and 0. And then finally, we'll set our title to animate out. So keyframe the rotation and the opacity again and do the negative 180 and 20. And now we can just collapse all of this, hit that tilde key again. And if we want, just come over to Window and let's see, Preview, and we can do like a RAM preview here. All right, and just basically some really nice titles. And that's essentially it. There's a lot of different other kind of transitions you can do here to make this work. This is totally, feel free to play around with this, but this is just kind of a neat, simple 2D design that's actually pretty fun to make. But if you enjoyed it, feel free to check out more After Effects tutorials and motion graphics templates at motionmile.com. I will see you next time.